Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. This podcast is also proudly brought to you by Onyx Hunt. When I first got into hunting, I kept hearing all about public land and different access and how to find different locations to hunt. I was like, well, how are people even identifying all this stuff? Well, sure enough, I came across the number one hunting GPS app, and that is Onyx Hunt. If you guys want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, Onyx Hunt is the number one GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust Onyx Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. It was a game changer for me, and I know it's going to be a game changer for you if you've never used it. If you have used it, you know the power that it holds. Guys, I really hope you enjoy this episode. If you want to know more about Onyx, go to onyxmaps.com/hunt and check out their app. Be blessed, freedom on, and stay soulful. All right, guys, if you're in the market for a new hunting rifle this coming year, look no further than a Kelbly's rifle. I've been rocking their Koda rifle for the last couple seasons, and I've had great success with it. It's an amazing shooter, and every time I put one of their rifles in somebody's hands, they're like, oh, I got to get one of these. Kelbly's holds over 92 world and national records that are either broken or set on one of their actions or rifles. So they really set a higher level of accuracy. If you want to know more about Kelbly's rifles, go to kelbly.com. That's KELBLY.com. Tell them Johnny Mac sent you with Soul Seekers, and go enjoy shooting that much more in this coming hunting season. Be blessed, everybody. Go check out Kelbly Rifles. All right, guys, if you have never upgraded your trigger on your hunting or shooting rifle, it is time that you do. And when you do, I want you to take a look at Timney triggers. Built by hand in the USA since 1946, and every expert recognizes the importance of their trigger. Timney makes the world's finest trigger, and you gotta love it because they are built in the USA. For those of you who are lever action fans, Timney just released their first lever action trigger. You're going to want to go check that out. We talk about that on episode 290 of the podcast. But if you are looking for triggers for whether it's a handgun, rifle, or anything else, go check out timneytriggers.com and go become a better, more accurate, more deadly shooter because it starts at your fingertips. Be blessed. Enjoy the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mac. Today, I am joined by my fellow co-host, Flatland Sam, for a wonderful episode with a company of historic proportions. We have today as a guest, Lawrence Taylor, who is the Public Relations and Social Media Marketing Manager for Daisy. And for those of you who are maybe not familiar with just Daisy by itself, think BB guns. Think the classic Red Ryder. And so, like everyone who grew up with what I'm going to call an awesome childhood, it all starts with a Daisy. So I'm going to read, before we get into this podcast, I'm going to read a little excerpt of something that I wrote because it speaks directly to what we're going to be talking about tonight. So it says, I did not grow up in a household where hunting was an option or even a thought of possibility. My father, who loved to fish and backpack and shared his love with me, was always gone in the fall coaching football, and I was too afraid to ever voice my desire for something more in life or to share my call upon my soul. Whether I was a coward or ignorant to the fact that I wanted something else beyond the typical day-to-day monotony has yet to be determined. But I somehow managed to stuff my desire and adventurous dreams aside, only letting them out when I had my Red Ryder BB gun in hand, chasing imaginary bad guys or animals in my backyard. And so without further ado, my man, Lawrence Taylor from Daisy BB Guns is here. We're going to be talking about the start, the root, the foundation of everything because mentorship is conservation. It starts with our youth. It starts with gun safety, and it all starts with a Daisy. So, Lawrence, thank you so much for joining us for an episode tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. I've really been looking forward to this. I told my wife um, who I was recording with tonight, and she's like, "Oh man, that's awesome! Your X account," which, by the way, all you listeners, it seems like social media is dying with censorship. Facebook, Meta, Instagram, it is suffocating us. Soul Seekers hasn't necessarily been able to grow on that platform for a long time. All posts get constantly flagged for, improper showing of an animal or a weapon or whatever. And so it's sad, but one of the best platforms that you can go to nowadays is X, formerly known as Twitter. And on there, you really can, let loose. Some might say it's the wild, wild west of social media, but that is how I connected with you, Lawrence, and how I connected with Daisy because of what you guys are doing and how you're taking a stand on social media and what you stand for as a company. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Thanks for being here, Sam. Thanks
Yeah.
for, it all starts with a Daisy. What a classic tagline. Has that always been around?
No, it's about 6 years old. We did a study, just had people standing out in front of Bass Pro Shops and academies and catching people as they're coming out of the door, and we did some surveys with them, and we found that 85% of the people who consider themselves outdoorsmen started they took their first shot with a BB gun. And 85% of those people, it was a Daisy BB gun. So that's kind of where that came from. Well, if 85% of the outdoorsmen, hunters, fishermen started with a Daisy BB gun, there it is. It all starts with Daisy.
That is a marketing genius line. I really love it, but it also holds so true. My first, like, I just got done reading that an excerpt from one of my writings, and I talk about chasing imaginary bad guys and animals of my youth with my Red Ryder BB gun in the backyard. I was never given a BB gun. I actually bought one at a garage sale with some lawn mowing money. My father never taught me gun safety, never passed any of that knowledge or safety on to me and my brother. So I more or less kind of just went about it. I shot little green army men.
Really?
Yeah, I'd line them up in my backyard, and then once I blew out all those, I'd shoot my brother's GI Joes, which he still holds against me to this day. He's like, "Dude, you ruined my GI Joe collection by blasting them with the BB gun." But that was my youth. I would go out in my backyard. If it rained, it was even better. It's like, okay, I'm gonna be that Lone Ranger, gritty, tough. I'm out with my BB gun. I'm surviving, and that was my youth.
Yeah, those little green army men were perfect.
Dude, they're
I used
best.
to I used to do the same thing, and I think that's why I fit into this role so well. Is that I was that little kid that came home from school and Dad had the Daisy BB gun for me. I had no idea, and we went out onto the front porch, and he put a beer can out and told me, gave me lessons a little bit, and showed me, and then he cut me loose with it, and I was that kid too who went all around the house and through the woods and everywhere I could go shooting my Daisy BB gun. And I couldn't wait to graduate up to that Daisy 880, the multi pump that you pump 10 times. And all of a sudden the sparrows were falling real fast after that.
Yeah.
I shot my fair share of squirrels and chipmunks, and
It's funny, when I was a kid, I didn't have one growing up but I had an older uncle, and he had one,
uh-huh.
and I would always be at my grandmother's house, and the thing we would shoot at was pie pans. We'd
Mhm.
hang pie pans on the barbed wire fence, wrap that pie pan around the barbed wire,
Uh-huh.
and get you a magic marker and draw you a dot on there, and I can still hear the sound of
Ding.
a little pellet or a BB hitting that pie pan. It has a certain ring to it,
It sure does.
We that's what we would do. We'd shoot at them.
You know, it also has just a magical sound to it. Is the classic. You shake that BB in the gun, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, it's
Hey,
loaded.
you
I'm ready
remember
to
when you
rock.
when you were a little kid and you were loading it up, and of course you're spilling half of them and everything, and then your mom comes in there with the vacuum. It's like, damn it, boy, where are you?
Yeah.
Pick those
Oh
things
my
up.
gosh, Daisy, a kid's best friend and a mom's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
sure you're
No, that is so true. So the history of BB guns is really fascinating. A lot of people don't actually realize this that Lewis and Clark, when they went west, had an air gun, and it was a repeatable air gun, and that is what gave them a lot of security against the Native
Mhm.
Americans because as they went west, they demonstrated the power of it, and they all thought it was like magical or magic powers, and that was what helped them be able to head west. Lawrence,
You're right,
you have a
and
lot
I'm
of
not sure that they didn't imply that they had a whole bunch of them in the back in the boats, and if you guys don't be nice to us, we'll go get them.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot more where this came from. Did you know
Right.
that they went west with that?
I've heard it, but I haven't dove into it deeply.
You know, a BB gun won the West. I mean, or really opened up the West
An air
for
gun.
yeah, an air
Mhm.
gun. It's such a crazy, awesome concept. When was the first time you got a BB gun?
That would have been when I was probably and I'm can't say this because our boxes say for 10 and over, but I was probably 7,
Mhm.
and I remember just coming home from school, and dad had it for me, and fell instantly in love with shooting and which developed, of course, my family hunted, so it developed into that. And a really good thing that my family did, and I've talked to a lot of other people who have done the same thing, is that they have the youth who is coming up and getting close to being the age where he can hunt himself. He carries his Red Ryder with him, empty, of course, or it would scare the ducks if you went over the pond dam or something. But and they could teach you while you're doing. Watch your muzzle. You're pointing your gun at me again.
Oh, I like
You know,
that.
is your safety on? You know that constantly. I don't know how many times that Dad just is your safety on? Is your safety on? Yeah, and that just it really ingrained some of those safety lessons that I've carried with me and that I've handed down to my kids. And I know in high school I hunted with some people who obviously didn't get those lessons, and I just hunted with them once because
Mhm.
that was, it's nothing to mess with.
You're bringing up a really fascinating topic because I was not raised with gun safety. So I'm now a father of 3 boys, and I'm a very responsible human being. I know as an adult saying that it's like, I hope so. But looking back in my youth, I was always, I made sure I followed in line because I was scared to get in trouble. I didn't want
Mhm.
to get in trouble, so I made sure I mind my P's and Q's. With that being said, that meant I respected, the muzzle of a BB gun, regardless of whether or not it's a firearm. Like, you know, uh,
Mhm.
and I didn't always. I mean, I was still a kid, but for the most part, I was very aware and conscious of that, especially on my very first ricochets and having that BB come back and hit me and be like, oh, okay, I can get hit with this.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've come a long way since we were kids. I mean, we everything we do comes with always wear shooting glasses, always wear eye protection when you're shooting a BB gun because that round hard object bounces back. It just naturally ricochets.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I have. I like to consider myself a good shot. Sam, you've hunted and shot with a lot of people.
Mhm.
I get really excited. I get a little buck fever at times, which I love, and I think that's a part of the magic of hunting is
Mhm.
that when you get that feeling, it's like, oh, that's a special feeling, ain't it,
Yeah.
Harry?
Yeah.
like, you're like sure is. But when it comes down to squeezing the trigger and doing that, I really owe all my skill set to shooting a BB gun so much as a kid because
mhm,
going to a range shooting real live ammo nowadays is so expensive
Mhm.
and it's hard to justify when inflation's kicking up and all these different bills are happening to go spend more money on ammo just to send it down range to practice your trigger um,
mhm.
when you can go do it in the backyard with a BB gun.
Right, and I'll tell you one, if you wanna try that and get into that, a really cool thing is to take a pop can. It can be one of those smaller size pop cans. Tie some fishing line to it, hang it from a tree limb, and then just either with friends or with your kids or whatever, try shoot in the middle of it, shoot in the middle of it until you cut that can apart, and whoever gets the last shot that makes the can cut in half and fall half of it falls to the ground, he's the hero. He gets the prize. But we always have a couple of BB guns on the back porch for that.
Dude, I like that. I got a
Yeah, it's
perfect tree in the
yeah,
backyard
it's
for.
and it's what's cool about it too is the fundamentals of marksmanship still apply, regardless if you're shooting a BB gun or a deer rifle.
Right. Yeah.
Learning how to operate it and look down the barrel and use your sights and
Yeah.
Your
squeeze the.
breathing,
Yeah,
your
absolutely,
your squeeze, trigger squeeze, and I know uh, hunting with open sights is not hardly done at all anymore. But if you learn to use the open sights, you ever have a situation where your scope fails or whatever, you know how to do it.
absolutely.
Yeah. That was very true. What, Lawrence, take us through the history of Daisy and BB guns. And, a lot of people know it as Red Ryder, but did that name come from an old Western TV show or, what's the history of Daisy?
You young folks. Yeah. Well, I'll go back and start back in the early 1880s. This group got together to build these iron windmills because iron windmills were so much better than the wooden ones they had at the time. They didn't rot. They'd go for years and years, and they were a great product. However, there's an 1881 or so. There's no way to advertise except for throwing the thing in a wagon and taking off down the road and stopping at every farmhouse and everything. And that's what they did. But unfortunately, once they got to about 100-mile radius of Plymouth, Michigan, your returns were diminishing a lot. Salesmen were going out and not coming back with sales, or going out for a week instead of 2 days. Um, and the group of investors actually voted to shut the Plymouth Windmill, um, Plymouth Windmill, Iron Windmill Company down. And one guy, Mr. Huff, L.C. Huff, I believe is his name. He was the main guy, and he said, "No, we're going to hold off a little bit longer." The next day, this Clarence Hamilton, who was an inventor in the area, brought in an iron BB gun. There were some wooden BB guns at the time, made by Markham, which was like across town in Plymouth, Michigan. But there was no iron one, and we were good at making iron stuff. So he showed it to him, and he said, "Well, shoot it." So he shoots it into a wastebasket, and he was surprised by how hard it shot. And he said, "Oh, that's a daisy." Just like if you watch uh, some old movies, you'll see them go, "Well, you're a daisy if you do." Well, that was just what they said, and it was a daisy. Was like it was awesome. So that's how they got the name Daisy. And they said, "Well, we'll take some, we'll make some, and we'll give them away with every windmill." So they started doing that, and it turned out that the BB guns were more popular than the windmills. And eventually, 1886 or 7, they stopped making windmills and started just making BB guns, the daisies.
Wow.
So that's how that started, and really just went crazy. And we've got a museum in downtown Rogers, Arkansas, that you ought to come visit and see all the products that we've made and all the stories that have happened throughout the years. I mean, we made all kinds of toys, we made tents, we made boots, we made everything throughout the years. But all that time, the thing that stayed true was BB guns. And the Red Ryder came along in 1940, and we had been naming BB guns for cowboys, for actors, and they kind of said, these actors might really sting us if they got in trouble, or got a DUI, or got caught with someone's wife or something. It's like, maybe we should try to name one after a comic book character. and they picked Red Ryder because he rode the West and arrested cattle rustlers, and he always tried to do it without killing them. So it was kind of he had compassion, eh, and he rode with his little buddy, Little Beaver, who was his Indian sidekick, which could now would probably be better to call him Little Otter or something else. But um, that's kind of how it stuck, and the Wild West was still really popular in boys' minds. They wanted to ride the West. It was, and it really caught on.
Yeah,
So
that's
kind of
interesting.
it's been in our line since then.
That's cool. Did you know that?
No, I had no idea.
Dude, that is so awesome. And it's ironic. Like, so I read an excerpt of something I wrote, but if I go back a paragraph, um, I said, as a husband and father of three young boys, I hold a responsibility to my family to remain present and invested in them while still satiating the urge to challenge myself in the wild places of this world, similar to that of the Lone Ranger. Like that is so ingrained
Mhm.
in me. Like this idea of okay, so back up and not to get into a therapy session, but I was a scared little boy. I grew up in a household with a very domineering father, and and I constantly I wanted to always keep the peace. Well, with that being said, is like I had this urge to, you know, be whether a phoenix or spread my wings and fly and really like go adventure. I felt like I was missing that in my life. And
Mhm,
so this idea of westerns, this Lone Ranger, this Red Rider, this person
mhm.
out getting after it and relying on no one but himself and his own skill set and determination and grit and courage and every other adjective you want to put out there, like that is what Soul Seekers is all about. That's what we represent. That's what we want to pass on to other people is that it starts with you and it starts with your best friend, not little beaver, not little otter, but your trusty sidearm, your Red Rider, your
Right,
BB gun.
right. Never felt more free and independent as when trekking out the back door with the Daisy BB gun when you were little
Yeah.
and just going out and, spending hours outside.
It's really interesting. So we were talking before we started recording that I'm a school teacher of 17, 18 years now. And I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, state of Washington, very liberal state. It's the only state out of all 50 this last election cycle a week ago that actually went more liberal than any other state, which is absolutely insane and a part of the reason why I left the state of Washington. But with that being said, is I believe in outdoor education. State of Washington, they don't have it. Hunter safety is not taught. I struggled to get archery into my schools, but I
Mhm.
finally did. I was like, oh man, good. Okay, National Archery in Schools program. This is great for my students. Let's get BB guns in. And it was the biggest uproar. Like, no way, that is how, blah, blah. I'm like, you guys want to have a safer society. Teach people gun safety, right?
Right.
Like,
Right. I can get a parallel from, and I got this from the gentleman that I replaced when he retired at Daisy. That you may not have a swimming pool at home, but you want your kids to be able to swim because they're going to encounter a swimming pool. They're going to go swimming. So why wouldn't you also want them to know what to do if they encounter a gun,
yep.
whether it's a BB gun or a real gun, firearm?
Yeah.
You know.
So fascinating. What's your perspective on this? See,
Oh,
Sam
no.
grew up in Texas, so he lives
Yeah.
the
Yeah, it's different, in Texas and whatnot. We got 4-H and FFA and stuff like that. So it's offered quite a bit around here. Hunter safety and whatnot. Actually, I believe they teach it at the high school now. Um, you can elect it, to have that class, but uh,
Yeah, there's the SAR program, which
mhm.
is a air gun. It's Scholastic Air Gun. It's run by our competitor, but it is a really good program. And talking about Texas and education, we have the Daisy Nationals every year at the beginning of July, and this is groups teams of 5 kids, age 8 to 15, and most of the teams come from the 4-H shooting sports program, and they shoot our Daisy 499B. It's the most accurate BB gun in the world for 5 meter competition, and we have multiple teams from Texas every year come up.
Yeah, it's pretty big here.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's
it
so
is.
cool.
It is.
I miss so much by not growing up down here. There's a
I
reason why like everyone loves like Texas is very
Yes.
known for being arrogant. Well, there's a lot of justice in that. Like it's cool. It's a cool place. Although Oklahoma is from a Yankees perspective, it was like the redheaded stepchild of Texas to the north. Would you say
I
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see it like that, but I'm sure some folks do. I know there's some darn good shooters up there in Oklahoma.
Not a county in Oklahoma voted blue this year. So,
I
and
was
that's
gonna
the
say
Yeah,
second
that.
year in a row,
yeah,
or second election in a row.
yeah.
Dude, that is
There ain't no
awesome.
arguing with that.
Nope, not at all, not at all. So with BB guns, just in general, take us through like we the collective know what a Red Ryder BB gun is. You know, it's that lever action BB gun, single shot, open sights. You know, the historic Christmas movie. Don't shoot your eye out. You know, I want a Red Ryder BB gun with a uh, compass in the stock, and you know, like
And the
that
thing that
classic.
still time,
Yes,
right?
and a thing that tells time, like this classic part of American nostalgia
Hmm.
is the BB gun. Beyond the Red Ryder, what other types of offerings does Daisy offer?
Oh, we have slingshots. We have a lot of beginner things, slingshots. And as far as BB guns, we have, in addition to the Red Ryder, we have Model 99s, which come in different colors. You know, there's a blue one, a pink one, a camo one, a black one with a red trigger. There's those. They've got a larger loop lever and a fiber optic front sight. And then you go on up to the 880, the multi-pump pneumatics. You pump it 10 times and you get about 800 feet per second with it. Um, and then we make some CO2 pistols and, some items like that, and a lot of accessories to go with it, targets and things like that.
Dude, that's awesome. My youth, so the Red Ryder was like so classic, but I got to a point where I wanted something with a little more power so I could shoot from
Mhm.
further away. I don't, it was the 10 pump action. Literally actually shot the barrel out of my BB gun. I have shot it so many times
Hmm.
and so
Yep.
often that the barrel ended up coming out, and I was like, no way. So I got some duct tape and put it back in and taped it up
Yeah.
and
Keep going.
away.
I went through several when I was little.
Yeah.
Man, what is a warranty on a BB gun these days? It's like,
Oh, either 1 or 3 years, I'm not sure.
yeah.
I have to look at a box.
Oh, I can't imagine like they just work. I've
Oh
never
yeah.
had an issue with a BB gun.
Man,
No.
this is one of the things. In fact, it was one of the first things that I videoed and put up on our YouTube channel was, some what the customer service people get the most of all. Most of it is from the Red Ryder, and I just bought this Red Ryder. I shot it 3 times, and now it doesn't work, and it's a piece of crap, and I want my money back. And the customer service representative will say, "Okay, since it doesn't work already, once you put it down on the ground, the buttstock on the ground, take the lever and lift up as hard as you can." And they'll do that, and they'll hear one more click, and it's that they just didn't have it all the way cocked because
Mm.
there's 7 clicks that go through there, and they just think, it's a piece of crap, and it's their fault, and they're usually like, "Oh, okay, thank you." You know, but
Yeah.
you can shoot them a million times.
Yeah. Man, this is so cool. What type of stuff is Daisy doing to promote gun safety or firearm protocol out in the public?
We do a lot of different things. One of the programs we've got, and thank you for asking me that. One of the things we've got is our inflatable ranges. It's like a bouncy house. You roll it out, hook the fan to it, turn it on, it blows up, and it's got 2 lanes, and it's about 10 meters or so. There's a pulley system that you hook in there, so you can bring the youth in and give them their gun safety lessons. And if they've never shot before, tell them, all right, you line up this thing right in this little notch, and you look down the barrel, you do that, you put that on the target, and then they can actually shoot the BB guns. You just hook a target on there and roll it down, and then they can shoot, and then you bring the target back and give it to them and say, oh, this is a good job, go put it on your refrigerator or something, and we take those different places. I'll be at the NWTF convention. That's my one of my favorite things to do is I take 3 or 4 days and go out and just shoot with the kids for 3 days, and it is a blast. um, Another thing we do is we invest heavily in the 4-H, the shooting sports program. Um, our Daisy Nationals is 3 or 4 days, depending on the year, of just fun for the kids. It the first time I did that, oh, that was when they hired me. They didn't tell me about the Daisy Nationals. And they said until I was there a couple of weeks, and there's like, oh, by the way, you MC this event too. I'm like, oh, I don't even know what it is. First time I went, it just filled my heart with incredible joy, and actually a little bit of hope for the future, because these are the best kids you've ever seen.
Mm.
They're polite. They're yes sir, no sir. And we have a competition. They'll shoot 40 targets over a couple of days, from the standing, sitting, kneeling, and prone positions, 10 each. And they also take a written 50-question test on gun safety and rules, which is also added in there for a total of 500 points. Now, 2 years, 3 years ago, we had a girl from South Dakota scored a 494, which means, and you're talking about bullseyes are the size of the BBs. You can, I'm old, I can barely see it at 5 meters. That she missed the bullseye 6 times and barely missed it then because she got nines every other time. So she shot, was that 44 shots of bullseyes, and that was a new record for the national champion. So we do team national champions, and we've got a big podium and everything, that just like the Olympics. They get on there, and the first night we have, when we do the opening ceremonies, we usually, like last year, we had the new president of the NRA speak, and they all get to wear costumes. They can pick from patriotic costumes, just crazy costumes like SpongeBob characters, or sometimes they're all deer, or yeah, and with one of them being a hunter, and a lot of Uncle Sam's, and military uniforms, and it's an incredible event that I said every year. It's so much work to put together. It costs so much, but it is so worth it every time. Just see those kids, and you'll see the full range of emotions. You'll see the kids come off the line crying because they didn't do as well as they hoped, and then you'll see the ones jumping up and down screaming that they ran 10 of 10 bullseyes on that one, and it's incredible.
Yeah. That is how I feel with my mission statement of mentorship is conservation.
Mhm.
There's 5 stages of a hunter, and that last stage is the mentorship stage. That if
Yeah.
you actually, once you get to that point, and my goal is that people would actually get to that point, even if they're not all the way progressed through their stages, is that when you give the gift of being self-reliant and to the ability to procure food for somebody and for
Mhm.
themselves and to feed themselves, it is one of the most amazing experiences to see and
Mhm.
be a part of. And just like, if it's meant to be, give it away and it'll naturally come back to you. That's like the idea is to teach somebody else how to have a better life through a simple thing of gun safety and squeezing a trigger and hitting your target and the patience and all the other high quality characteristic and attributes that you'd want a human being to experience
Hmm.
comes through learning and going through that process of shooting a gun, shooting a firearm, shooting a BB gun.
Every year at the Daisy Nationals, I hear from a different parent that said, my kid was not doing well in school. He was having trouble focusing. He was getting in trouble, and his grades were bad until we got him in this program. And after a few weeks, they see that they're getting better. They're getting better. They're getting better, and it gives them a self confidence. It really makes a better person.
Hmm. It's really interesting that you brought up this idea that it gave you hope for the future of the youth of America. And my first initial response to that was, well, of course it does, because it's probably the first time that these kids are showing respect towards something
Hmm.
or someone. Like if their parents are failing them and they don't respect their parents, well, yeah, they're going to end up causing trouble. Or they don't respect their teachers or respect authority or respect whatever, the law. You have to respect a firearm. You have to respect a BB gun. Otherwise, you're going to
Hmm.
catch the wrong end of it very fast. And so
Right. Yeah.
when you go through that firearm safety training, it teaches you respect like it's never been taught to you before, because you know that it is constant. And working in the disciplinary school that I work in currently, what I know about students that have respect issues or struggling environments is that they need some constant in their life. They don't want to constantly be surprised or not know what's coming, or you know the unknown, scared of the unknown. When there's a constant, we can anchor ourselves to that. And the constant of firearm safety never changes, no matter how old you are, no matter what type of weapon you're using. There are certain things, and I think that that goes to show you want better humans, train them up on how to use a firearm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, you ever?
I agree.
I mean, we're going philosophical right there, but this just hit me, and it's like, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes
Hmm.
sense. What's your take? You got two young kiddos. What's your vision for you teaching your kids firearm safety and
Well,
BB gun and all that?
that's funny. I've already my son, he's the oldest, and when he was born, my dad got him a Henry Golden Boy and got it all engraved and whatnot. He brought it to, he didn't bring it to the hospital, but he brought it to the house right after. And anyways, so I guess it was the spring this year we got it out for the first time. It's never been fired, and we went out to the ranch, and I got it out for him, and I held him, and let him shoot it. So he's the first one to pull the trigger on it,
Cool.
and uh and he remembers, and he brings it up all the time, and we went over a lot. He's a little kid, he's 4 years old, 4 or 5 years old, so he young, but he understands, and tonight, right before I came over, I was actually reloading some match ammo for this weekend, and he came in there to tell me good night, and he jumped up in my lap at my reloading bench and was asking me, what is this bullet for? What is this bullet for? And he understands, and
So
I think
cool.
it's very important.
Yeah. Yeah. Lawrence, were you raised like, I know we covered this earlier. You said, you got that BB gun early on, but when did you really come into your own of understanding and respecting and applying your shooting skills?
Well, my family, we lived in the country, and we had 7 or 8 ponds or tanks that ducks would land on in the fall, and my dad always he loved to jump ponds for ducks, so we did that, and I tagged along with him a lot. Um, but I'd say whenever I first started really understanding things was when 7th grade or so, guy from down the road, friend of mine, comes down, and we go jumping ponds for ducks, and he's swinging the barrel over me, and walking, trying to sneak ducks without being hidden, And I was like, look at him, like, this guy's an idiot. I don't ever want to hunt with him again. And I didn't, but it kind of, sparked that in me that, yeah, okay, I'm starting to get it now a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I don't. I mean, I my experience is older, so I don't really have that. Did you? When? What was yours, Sam?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I grew up mostly at my grandmother's house because my parents were both working and whatnot, and so I'd go to work with my granddad and uh, working cattle, doing whatever, and so we always had a gun in the truck. It was normal, but we didn't touch it, and unless we had a coyote or something come across the
Mhm.
field. But kind of breaking out on my own, uh, I'd go. Dad and I would go fishing, and I had an Ithaca Model 49 that was his from the early '60s, and that's what I learned how to shoot on.
Mm.
And so that was it was handed down to me. So that was my first real gun. But before I took it out on my own, I always had a BB gun,
Mhm.
and I'd go to grandma's house and slip through the barbed wire fence and go mess around out in the trees, and I'd shoot. She wouldn't let me shoot her songbirds, but I could shoot as
Yeah.
many blue jays as I wanted.
Oh, no, Blue Jays are off limits. I couldn't. And you know what's ironic is that was pounded into me. It was the first bird I actually killed, and I
Oh,
so
she said
bad.
she
Oh,
she she didn't like the blue jays because they picked on all the wrens and other little
yeah,
birds, and
yeah,
made a lot of noise and whatnot. So I'd
right.
go shoot them blue jays, and so that was kind of when I first broke out on my own. Having a rifle, an air rifle with me or whatnot, and then it just progressed from there. But
Yeah,
I was always hunting them blue jays.
man, it's so cool sharing these stories. How often do you actually talk about like this, the origin stories of you shooting? Right, like
Yeah,
you don't go into those memory banks too often. So
yeah.
sharing these, if you so two stories. Number one, I remember going on. I was middle school, and maybe seventh, eighth grade. Stayed the night at a buddy's house, and he lived out in the country, still in a neighborhood, but there's enough trees around where you could shoot a BB gun and not have to worry about ricochets or hitting somebody's house or whatever.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, "Hey, can I bring my BB gun over and stay the night?" And we went out in the woods, and I shot my first bird, and I dropped it, and I walked up on it, and that moment in my heart, it sunk. Like I was like, "Oh yeah, I did it! I shot my first. I got what I was aiming at." But then I walked up on it. I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
should I have killed that?" Like
Right.
it.
Hunter's remorse, right.
Yeah. So it was such an interesting experience. And
Mhm.
then I used to always backpack. In the summertime, and load up my knapsack and go take a trail up in the mountains and go fishing and camp food. And little boys always leave their food out, right? So what
Mhm.
comes to eat it? Little chipmunks and squirrels. And so I'd start backpacking with my little Red Ryder, and that was the beginning of my true hunting experience.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
running
Yeah,
bait sites.
Daisy officially denounces that. We don't we do not agree with that.
Yes,
Yeah,
and I totally get that.
officially.
We don't want to promote that, but going back, like that was what I did.
That's what happened.
Yeah, that was what happened.
Yeah.
Um, it was really interesting seeing the progression of the firearm industry and innovation and all this all this constant push for something new and changing. And yet I feel like BB guns are just like it just is like.
Right. That's what it is.
And
Yeah.
do you find it hard to market something like that, or is what
You know,
markets BB guns the
no,
best for you?
some of our products do take a little effort. Like our Model 25 pump. It's one of the favorite guns. It's like the infamous BB gun that a lot of people collect, a lot of people love. It's been in our line for over 100 years in different forms because early on it was known as the finger pincher because they get their fingers in the left, because you have to pump it, and when you go back, they get their finger in there. Ah, But so we fixed that problem. There's no problem with that. But it's been in the line for forever, and it takes a little bit of marketing to just create awareness and everything. But the lever action and the Red Riders, they sell themselves. You just put them on the shelf. Now, of course, the Christmas Story movie, it has a lot to do with that in the last, what, 30 years since I think this was the 40th year
Yeah.
That
since
sounds
that
right.
movie has come out. But no other company that I know of has a 24-hour marathon commercial during and associated with the biggest gift giving holiday of the year as the Red Rider does. And that, seeing that is just like, God, you couldn't buy that kind of publicity.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
and it's accepted within society nowadays, which
Mhm.
that's a whole nother topic, which if you want to get into, I would be glad to because I love talking politics. But the whole idea is like, you know, that movie centers around a BB gun.
Mhm.
And it's like, that is awesome. It is
Yeah.
a childhood dream. Like, let's make it a
Yeah.
reality. Hey,
No.
Red
Yeah.
Riders in the hands of every American.
Yeah, no one in Hollywood will admit that that movie revolves around a Red Rider, but it does. They insist, no, it's a story of a young man growing up and his trials and tribulations. No, it's about a BB gun. He wants a dang Red Rider.
Yep.
You know what? Christmas movies are the best because
Yeah.
the other Christmas movie that has a ginormous BB gun scene is with the pump action, and
Home
that's
Alone.
Home Alone.
Oh yeah.
Home
Yes.
Alone. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the Daisy BB gun that you were talking
I,
about?
if it is a daisy, it's been modified. I've watched that scene a lot of times, and I cannot say yes or no if it's a daisy.
Just
Oh yeah.
oh, dude,
I know.
it it just gets you going.
The only reason I liked watching Christmas Story was for the BB gun.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's why I like that
I
show.
it was 40 however many years ago, and I was a senior, I believe a junior or a senior in high school, and I remember, and I don't know, I've forgotten a million things, but I don't know why I remember taking my redheaded girlfriend to the movies in Muskogee, Oklahoma, and sitting and watching A Christmas Story, and we watched the whole thing, and I remember getting up going, you know, I think that was a good movie. It was really had some cool stuff in it. But then, and then I think, shoot, in the future, I'm going to actually work with Red Riders. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Dude, that is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. What other stories revolve around a BB gun or real historical moments? Obviously Christmas Story, Home Alone, where he's like, got to get the bad guys. Um, do you recall anything else, Lawrence? Do you know anything?
No, I don't know right off the top of my head. Those are the major ones.
And it's always Christmas time, gift giving
Mhm.
season. Man,
Right.
I
awesome.
I got my first one for Christmas.
You did?
Yeah, it was personally mine. I got it for Christmas, and I remember it was an 880
Yeah.
power. Did they call it the power line?
Power line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it had a scope on it.
Yes.
And I remember we got the pie pan out, and it shot pellets. You could put
Hmm.
pellets in it, and that that was the real deal.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'd got the pie pan out, and we got the scope dialed in, and I remember me and my granddad was walking around, and red squirrel. It was in a bird nest, and I shot it in the bird nest and killed it. And then we couldn't get it out, but we had to get it so we could cut the tail off of it. That was the thing. And I remember, good memory, but I remember we got a piece of PVC, half-inch PVC pipe that was probably 20 foot long, and we knocked it out, and it was a prize. I mean, that was a Christmas morning right there.
Oh, that was on
Wow.
Christmas
That was
morning.
on Christmas morning. Yeah.
Dude, that's a great
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, it's good. I'll never forget it.
See, this is the nostalgia. BB guns are American. Like,
Yeah.
like as American as apple pie is a
Hmm.
Red Ryder BB gun. Um,
Yeah.
dude,
It's a boy's first taste of freedom. It's his boy's first taste of controlling his environment and, and being a man. You might be 8 years old, but you're going out the back door with a BB gun. You're the man.
Yeah.
So.
that's extremely true. I,
Hmm.
I I've never heard anyone say it like that, but that like speak more on that because I'm fascinated. I love hearing that.
Uh, I don't know. It's just the like I said, it's the first time in your life where you can control your environment a little bit, and that you are the adventurer. You're the man out on the plains. You're the man in the woods. You're protecting the farm, or you're bringing home food for the family. I mean, that's what's going through your head a lot. At least that's what was going through mine when I was that age.
Guys, it went through mine 100%. Why do you think that is? Is that just a part of, a boy growing up? Is this idea of we're naturally protectors? Or
Yeah, we are. You're right on.
is that's the
Protectors and
role?
providers.
Yeah, that's the role of a boy, the role of a man.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
to step into those shoes is a powerful experience.
Mhm.
Man, I'm I'm glad I don't have daughters, but I'll tell you, if I did have daughters, they'd be shooting a Red Ryder.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
my sister did.
I had 2, and they both know how to shoot. So,
Man,
and
well,
I've got a 10-year-old granddaughter that I'm training up now. So
oh,
she
that's
she likes to shoot. She wants to shoot the AR more, but no, we're gonna sit down on the porch and shoot the Red Ryder for a little while.
oh, that's so cool. One of the first books that I got to pass on my hunting, shooting, outdoors love with my children was there's a book. It's a little cartoonish, pretty large. I forget who makes it, but it's My First BB Gun. and
Really?
and I read it to my kiddos, and they ended up. It was a series as my first bow, my first rifle.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
what you're
my
talking about
kids
now.
love those books, and
Mhm.
it's really fun to be able to read those and share, the safety, the rules, the protocol, and to also get them excited. Today
Mhm.
I'm going to the store with my grandpa, and he's gonna get me my very first BB gun, and Grandpa says that I can't shoot without supervision and that I always need to know where my target's at and what's beyond it. And, like it's so
Mhm.
simple and beautiful and innocent and
Yeah.
prepares little young warriors just just to go get it. So American. So American. I love freedom. I'm a huge proponent of personal sovereignty.
Mhm.
During COVID, I got told take the jab or get fired, and I didn't actually stick the middle finger up to my employer, but I told them to kick rocks because let's just say they wouldn't let me in the door at that time anyway. So now, it was a part of being like, all right, I'm going to be able to take care of myself. Like you said already, protector and provider. What this Red Rider right here sitting next to me represents is everything all encompassed into one thing. And that is freedom and sovereignty and the ability to protect it and make sure it lasts for generations to come.
Yeah.
Um, I've was a PE teacher for years, but now I'm a social studies teacher, and I've never really understood politics truly until COVID really opened my eyes up to it. But what really stood out to me is this idea that no one holds their no one. That's a very large blanket statement. Very few people nowadays hold their own knowledge. And that knowledge comes from vocabulary, knowing words, knowing definitions, how to apply those words to scenarios such as asking for help versus asking for support. Help means you can't do it on your own. Support means you just need a little push and you can accomplish something with your own skill set and your own strength. Well, the definitions and vocabulary of words are so important because that is life. That is what makes us human, is to be able to communicate one to another rather than us just being animals living out in the woods, figuring out how to hit things with rocks and and communication, the ability to communicate. And so here we are in modern day society, living in a Biden administration and censorship of big tech, and people do not understand why freedom of speech is so important and why it's number one, followed up by the number two, which is the right to bear arms.
Right. Right. I would never in my life thought that I would hear a politician say that the First Amendment is standing in our way of progress.
Oh my gosh.
That when I heard someone say that, it was, then it's standing in the way of your progress, and your progress is probably not good for me.
Right. Right. Yeah. Working in the disciplinary campus, and I shared this before the podcast that 70% of my students end up in prison. In prison. It's crazy statistic, but that's who I deal with. And I'm constantly telling them, if you don't start making better choices for yourself, you're going to end up having people make your choices for you. And that is why the First Amendment and the Second Amendment are so important. Because if you don't know how to make your own choices through the communication that we interact with this world, and the ability to defend it, you're going to be allowing other people to make your choices for you the rest of your life. And that's not a society that I want to live in.
No.
I'm not a fan of communism, of fascism, of people telling me how to live my life. I'm a huge proponent of, the preamble to the Declaration of Independence of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And stay in your lane. You go live your life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, as long as it doesn't infringe upon my rights and my life and my liberty, pursuit of happiness. But the indoctrination system of public education, it's more about, well, did you know this person's name and what year did this battle happen and all this, rather than getting into the muddy waters of, just because I'm a teacher and I'm telling you something doesn't make it true. Go look it up and research it on your own. Hold your own knowledge. You know,
Mhm.
readers are leaders. You want to be able to lead, and that doesn't mean lead other people. That means just leading yourself. That means leading your family. That means leading your children, your household. Then you got to read and you got to hold that knowledge and you got to be able to articulate it to other people so that other people can then navigate their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness in combination with you and how you interact with the world. And that right there is like my soapbox of why I created a platform like this, because we need to teach the next generation and we need to teach the current generation to stop being cowards and to take up their own life and really stand for something, because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Well, for anything. That's right.
So you're chewing on that right now, huh, Sam?
Yeah, I'm just taking it all in.
Oh, dude, I'm giving a seminar at the Western Hunt Expo in Salt Lake City this year. How to talk about hunting. How to talk about hunting,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
in a day and age where my goal is to recruit hunters and to get more people involved, and that includes firearms and Second Amendment and all this, there's a large portion of that which is a responsibility of how to defend it and how to articulate it so that you don't have to love it, but you got to understand that I'm a good person, and that means what I'm doing is good and true intentioned, and for
Mhm.
me to be able to share that with people so that they can then also be like, wow, you know what, when it comes to voting, he's not so bad and he loves that. I'll probably vote for that because I respect that person and I respect how he goes about it. And so whether or not people want to be hunters, whether or not they want to participate in using a firearm, they better understand that there is a responsibility and that we hold as gun owners, as hunters, as outdoorsmen, to share that with other people in a positive light.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
Preach,
well said.
preach on, brother. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Well said.
So, yeah. Brother Lawrence, I really appreciate your time, your energy, and what you're doing on social media. It makes a difference. It's picking up. I put uh, I put one of your posts on my Instagram recently, and I said, "How many of you started it all with a daisy?" And I think it was like 94% of people responded with yes. It started with a BB gun, um, and the few people
It's
that said no, I was like, "Who are these people? What's going on?" Was that you?
One of them.
they're
Yeah.
they're either late bloomers or early adopters. It seems like that don't. It's the people like Sam,
Yeah.
who's comes from a firearm family, and they might start with a 22 or something like that.
Yep.
Or it's the older folks who start when they're 25 or 18 or whatever, and they've skipped all that whole adventure time of their youth shooting a BB gun. So like everybody else just loves the BB guns.
Oh, I love it. Hey, here's a little BB gun Q&A for you, real quick.
Uh-oh. I didn't
Rusty,
know there was going to be a
yeah,
test.
right. Rusty BBs. As a kid, it was like, oh man, I don't have any more money to go buy BBs. I got to go reuse and I go find BBs and they'd be a little rusted. Those good to shoot or not recommended?
You should not, but I'm not ever going to tell a kid not to. Yeah, it could clog your barrel. In fact, that is the reason Daisy started making their own BBs back in the 40s or so. Is that they started getting in a bunch of repairs, these BB guns with BBs stuck in the barrel, and it turned out they started looking into it. It was all came from the same area of the city, and it turned out there was a ball bearing company in that center of this area, and the kids were going out there and picking up ball bearings. Well, they might be way too big or way too small, but they didn't care. You put them in there and shoot them. So rusty BBs, not a good idea, but I'm not going to tell a kid not to, because if you don't have any BBs, you can't go out and shoot stuff. So
Yeah. Did you ever stack multiple BBs in your barrels?
Oh yeah. Good
yeah,
Lord. Of course. Yeah.
it's a shotgun now.
I was a little idiot just like you were at one point.
We all were that.
How many can I get in here before it really loses its power?
Oh gosh.
Right? Oh man. So what are some of the helpful tips that you would recommend to people? Obviously, I was looking at this BB gun the other day and I was like, is it this one? Uh, One of them has a spot for oil. And I was like, man, I don't know if I've ever oiled
Yeah,
a BB gun.
there is. It's along the barrel, midway usually, some
Yeah,
or
right
half
here right
go
here.
closer to the
Oh yeah,
forearm.
there it
Yeah,
is. I'm holding it on the wrong
yeah.
side.
It's just a little bit of oil in there. But you don't have to ever oil it really, unless you're going to be using it for 10 years. They say, I think we say 1,000 shots. Drop a couple pieces of oil or drops of oil in there. Uh, Maybe drop a couple drops of oil in the trigger assembly.
Hmm.
Other than that, keep it clean. You don't want to leave it outside like kids often do and let the dew get on it and start rusting. But just a little oil. I said 1,000 shots. It takes a while to shoot 1,000 shots.
Man, I've probably put
Oh
a
gosh.
few thousand shots on my BB
Yeah,
guns over
it's
the years.
Oh
These,
yeah.
look at it. Look, I got the. So this is a newer one. My
Mhm.
my children's grandfather, my father-in-law, he got each boy a BB gun on the day of their birth, and he has a receipt stapled to the box saying he was born on this day. Here's his BB gun, and
yeah.
so mine has the leather
The
tassel off
leather
the.
thong
Yep.
and we also have the Red Rider in an adult size too. It's just got a bigger stock, bigger forearm. It's a little beefed up, same velocities and everything. It's just fits an adult better than a Red Rider does.
It's so amazing to me because I remember running errands with my father as a kid. And when you go run errands with your father, you usually go to a hardware store. And at the hardware store, there's a BB gun section. And that is where I remember just like looking and staring and being like, oh man. And that goes once again similar to like Christmas movies and marketing for you. A hardware store and a journey to it with your father is that
Oh
where
yeah.
a kid gets to see the BB gun for the first time, be like, I want one of those. Do you have an
Mhm.
experience like that?
Mhm. Yeah. Absolutely. Ace Hardware.
Ace Hardware,
Yeah.
dude, it's the place.
Otasco. It was Otasco in Oklahoma.
Oh man, I love it. Well, brother, what's in the future for Daisy?
Well, we just earlier this year purchased our largest competitor, Crossman and Benjamin. And so we're trying to bring those into our family. We're incorporating Crossman products, and well, those companies are all going to remain their own companies. It really filled out our whole portfolio. I mean, yes, Daisy is never going to make a full auto BB gun. That's not our brand. It's not our image. But Crossman, it's got full auto BB guns, and my future is going to be shooting a lot of those.
Dude,
That
we
just
need
seems like
some of
that'll be
those.
so
Yeah.
much fun.
Yeah.
Those sound
Uh,
really
yeah,
fun.
and air guns are getting to be, the big bore air guns, 357, 45. I think one of our competitors has a 50 caliber. They're becoming legitimate big game hunting weapons. So that's a big deal in the air gun industry,
Yeah.
and most states let you do that
Well,
too.
that is really fascinating because there's ways around, like felons, for example, can't hunt with firearms because they can't have a
Mhm.
firearm. They can do archery, but then that limits them. But now you can do air
Air guns,
rifles.
yeah.
Yeah,
You got $1,000 to throw away. You can get you a really good air gun and that will kill a deer out 150 yards,
right.
so.
City limits. Hey, there's no firearms in city limits. Well, this ain't a firearm. It's an air gun.
Yeah, you're walking on a gray line right
I'm not
there, Johnny
sure
Mac.
if that you
Yeah.
you you can work that angle, but,
Yeah.
I'm not
I
saying I want to. I'm just like I'm envisioning like
well,
how.
they are a lot quieter, so, nobody may know if you're out there shooting, so.
Yeah, and that is one of the interesting things is a lot of I see modern day air guns starting to come with built-in suppressors, but they're not real. I don't
Right?
know, like
It's
it
sound suppression, right?
it is a real sound suppression.
Mhm. But the caveat to that is that if you break the sound barrier, which these at least are 22 and 25 caliber and 177 pellets, we're pushing them up to 1,200 feet per second. So we're breaking the sound barrier. There's nothing you can do about that loud crack
Hmm.
when you break the sound barrier. Now, everything else can be muted, but if you're shooting a high powered gun that shoots like that, it's still kind of loud.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Are you still hunting, Lawrence?
I was just thinking earlier, man, can I get out of work Thursday and Friday? And I'm fixing a plan right now because it's still archery and there are some big bucks falling right now in Oklahoma. And I'm like, okay, I tried to get my son who's in college. I text him, hey, what days can you skip school? And he's like, I can't skip school. Great. So I guess I'll go by myself Thursday. I went a muzzleloader. I like muzzleloader season. I used to work for Night Muzzleloaders out of Centerville, Iowa, and I just really fell in love with the muzzle loading when I was with them. So I always take a few days off and hunt around Halloween because it seems like that's really the start of the real good chasing phase for the whitetail.
Yep.
And so took off the week of Halloween and sat in a stand for 3 days, sweating my butt off. It was 89 degrees in the stand. And the final morning, that Halloween morning, we did have a little cool front come through. It was comfortable, it's nice. Saw a little one come through early, and about 10:30, I was like, I gotta get home. And we got Halloween stuff with the grandkids. So I'm getting everything ready, and I'll be dang, there's a buck working a rub line, and I was like, oh, all right, that's it. I just saw it had horns. I didn't care if I wasn't trophy hunting at that point. It was kind of revenge hunting because I had sat out there and sweated. So I shot that one, but I'm gonna go back and be selective and trophy hunt over the next couple of weeks probably.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
then it's gun season and it's taking the grandkids, and we've got a two-man stand, so I take the grandkids and set them in there. No chance of seeing a deer, you know, but I take them and they go and they look forward to it. And we always take a selfie, and then I have that selfie blown up and give it to them, put it in a frame and give it to them for Christmas. And they like that. So,
I love this. I gotta do a traditions podcast where I just bring on a bunch of people, just do a
yeah.
round table of
Yeah.
traditions.
We can go down rabbit holes on that.
oh, yeah.
I like
some
that.
some stories not tellable. Probably.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Dude, that's awesome. Well, good luck. I'm really excited. Sam and I are heading up to Nebraska here on the 20th. And
Whitetail?
yep, yes, sir.
Some big deer. I've turkey hunted there, but I've never whitetail hunted there.
Man, really excited for this. I just got a text today. Sounds like there might be a little snow coming, and it's I don't know. Hopefully, it's magical.
Oh, we're gonna be excited. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
It'll be magical.
Yes, I love it. Well, Lawrence, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother. Thanks for sharing all your wisdom, knowledge, and your passion for the shooting industry and our youth of America. It's evident to see with how you carry yourself and what you talk about and the passion. It's a beautiful thing. Sam, thanks for being here for
Absolutely.
another episode.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
How can people get connected with Daisy and Daisy Nationals?
We have our website, daisy.com is really easy. You can go on there and for the Daisy Nationals, you can get to it through that site or go straight to daisynationals.com. And it'll have all the information that you need, some videos and things like that. Otherwise, Daisy Rifles, look at Daisy on X. I'm always trying to pick up more folks there.
Yes.
And let's do some giveaway Red Ryder or two soon.
Yes, I love it. Listeners, we talked with Lawrence about this before the podcast, and we're going to be doing a little Christmas giveaway or holiday giveaway. I got to figure out how we want to do this. Maybe it's putting in for a Christmas gift for the kiddos, or start a kid with a daisy, or however we go. We're going to be launching a giveaway here soon on social media in time for Christmas and the holiday season. So Lawrence, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time and energy.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. It was a pleasure to meet you guys.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. It's our pleasure as well. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast. Thank you for being a part of Soul Seekers Nation. Remember that if you want to see change in the world, then it's up to you, and it's up to you sharing that with the world. You got to be the change that you want to see. It all starts with you, because hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure, and mentorship is conservation. And the best thing you can do is to give it away. Give it away and keep talking about it and share about it like it's the best thing ever, and everyone's got to experience it, because ultimately everyone is on the receiving end of it in some form or fashion. So thanks for tuning in to this episode. Go get yourself a Daisy BB gun if you haven't. Go pick yourself one up for Christmas. Get it for yourself. Even if you are thinking like, man, my childhood was awesome because I had a BB gun, and you don't have one anymore, you better get one. Put it in your arsenal. Put one on your back porch. Hang a pop can from a tree and enjoy the process, because you're always going to be working on that marksmanship, and that will never go void. I'm Johnny Mack with Soul Seekers. Freedom on, everybody. Thanks for listening, and stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating, as it helps us share our mission of mentorship is conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure. If If you want to get more connected with the podcast, check out the Soul Seekers Nation Facebook group, as I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. So stay tuned and stay soulful.